Hello, loves, and welcome back to Bayonetta. We had a bit of a to-do with Jean last time, the mysterious lady, so I don't know what the fuck's going to happen from here on out, but I do know that I ordered Bayonetta 1 and 2 off Amazon the other day, haha.
I'm so proud of you, Tom. You're finally going to beat them, and also I have to say, what the hell was that voice at the beginning there? It was just like, oh, hello, loves. It was just like, Wasn't quite sure where you were going.
As long as there's video games, I'll keep on recording. And like I said to Helldragon, sometimes I just gotta start parts. So yeah, what can we expect from the burning ground?
Well, the title for this particular chapter is quite literal. The ground is going to be burning a lot. It's an interesting chapter, not necessarily one of my favourites, because it's one that I definitely had to record a few times to get a run that I was happy with. And it's certainly, one of the more frustrating ones to platinum for a variety of reasons that you will see soon enough.
Is it a big old babyface in the sky? Did he give you problems?
No, because Featherface up here is only going to be around for a little bit. He's here to basically exposit and be a little bit cocky, and Bayonetta's just like, yes, I ain't your child, because otherwise I'd be really ugly.
Is this where the clip "flock off" Featherface comes from?
No, flock off Featherface comes in the next chapter, actually.
Okey-doke.
And that is a beautiful moment. I mean, pretty much just most of Bayonetta is just really quotable. And it's why I love it so much, because pretty much after sort of the first run through, I just quite enjoy just speaking the lines of dialogue along with the game, because it's just quite a delight. Because you sound like a badass whenever you do it.
You're one of those types of media consumers who always ruin stuff for people watching it the first time.
No, because I behave myself when I'm in the presence of other people. I only do it when I'm by myself.
Okay, well, I guess I don't count for other people, because you've been quoting stuff left, right and centre so far.
Well, this is a commentary. What else do you expect me to do? Actually do proper commentary?
Don't talk, ever. Don't let me do all the talking, because I only have very few memories of actually playing through this. I can't remember whether I did it the first time. I remember it being fairly tricky, though, with lava peppering the ground hither and thither.
Yes, so I know for a fact you got to chapter 5 before you gave up. For a very specific reason that we will get into actually at the end of this recording session, which is a delight.
Oh, nice.
But yes, this is a particularly difficult verse to begin on, because you can't actually touch these enemies, otherwise you will get hurt, because they're on fire. So if you hit them in any regular fashion, you will take damage. So it's a difficult one in that sense, because the only time that you can actually touch them is if you're in witch time. And that means that then you kind of got to do this weird dance of trying to basically use your wicked weaves and your guns to get the damage in without actually touching the blighters.
Yeah. So
it's a pretty tough verse to begin with. They don't actually throw too many fiery enemies at you throughout this chapter, but to begin with, you're just like, oh god, because most people would probably be using Sharaba at this point, because especially on their first playthrough, because Sharaba the sword is just very powerful.
Yeah.
And it is very good, but it's an absolute nightmare for that fight, because its entire gist is making use of physical contact, and you can't do that in that fight.
Well, the part has gone up now, so I suppose I can make a reference to it. In, I think, Chapter 11 of Doom 2016, that Volk and I are covering, at least at the time of recording, it should be done by the time this part goes up, there is a boss who you can only attack once his shield drops, and I don't like those types of enemies. Like,
I don't either.
Give them all the strategies you want, but just taking control away from the player. Like, I'll agree with people who want stuff to be pure gameplay at that point, because it's just kind of annoying, and it's not very intuitive either.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I have some misgivings with the enemy design in Bayonetta 2, because in introducing the Umbran Climax maneuver, they gave more enemies shields that you kind of had to try and break through, and it's just not quite as fun as Bayonetta's initial gameplay loop, which revolves mostly around fighting and dodging, and there's not as much super armour as there is when, you have an actual shield in the way.
Yeah. Very nicely done, mate.
Thank you, that took me a very, very long time, surprisingly longer than you'd expect.
Well...
The challenge with that one is because there's a particular weapon that we actually get in this chapter, I believe, that really helps out in stay-in-the-air challenges, but as it stands, I didn't have that weapon, so it was very much a case of, right, I want to actually manoeuvre and properly jump off the enemies and try and keep combos going in a manner that's quite challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And also that Alfheim portal's a bit of a dick to get to appear, because what you've got to do is beat the first verse, go up to sort of that top platform and shoot the bin. I don't know how you're meant to figure out to shoot the bin, but hey, that's what it's expecting you to do.
Again? If it's not trams, it's lava flow.
Of course, and this verse is also a bit of a pain, because, yeah, if you get caught by that guy, then, yeah, you're gonna die, because the lava's gonna catch up to you, and that's a nightmare.
There you go. Not quite a platinum, but you're gonna have to deal with a gold, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it's because I've got a stone on the combo, and that's because it's a really difficult verse to get any decent ranking in the combo area. But hey, we've got a new enemy. This is fairness.
Well, he starts off by shooting a thing at you, so that's not really very fair, let's be honest there.
It's very true, but fairness is an interesting one. Because he's like a proper doggo. And I mean, I do quite enjoy fighting against fairness. The only problem is that sometimes he can be a little bit too quick off the mark. And if he launches an attack when he's off-screen, like just on screen, but off-screen enough that he's able to make a move, he can very quickly catch you off guard. And then also doing the torture attack on him, which is the sort of massive wheel of torture.
Okay.
Is, I don't know, you've got to really properly mash that button, otherwise it's just not going to get maxed out.
I can see you back there, chest. We're coming.
Yes, there's nothing particularly interesting in this chest other than, I think, concocting materials that I'm not actually going to really use, but it's an Umbran resting place, and I want to collect all of them because, of course I do.
Mm-hmm.
What did you expect?
So the goal of this level is just to survive, it seems, then?
Yeah, it's just to progress from point A to point B, explore a little bit more. That's really all Bayonetta's doing right now, and that's totally fine. I mean, I will say, one of the things that Bayonetta does really well, actually, is reusing some of its levels in new and interesting ways. Because one of the things that so many games do fall foul of is reusing assets.
Devil May Cry.
Yes, also, Transformers Devastation is a key example from Platinum themselves.
Yeah.
But in Bayonetta they do a very good job of using them in a fashion where it's not going to be too obvious, because they change the levels so much that you don't necessarily notice or care that it's the same level.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to be using Vigrid quite a few times throughout the game, but it's in a very different fashion every single time it appears.
Well, as long as I don't feel like I'm playing through the same level like 3 times, put a different trope on it, give it a bit more of a different aesthetic, a unique aesthetic.
Exactly, so obviously the first time we played through it, it was pretty normal. Now everything's on fire. And the next few times that we come across it, it's going to be different once again. And I think it's probably the best way that you can possibly do reusing assets, because that way it just seems thrifty rather than cheap.
What's the definition of thrifty again?
I mean, it's effectively cheap, but there's a whole thing of, like, smarts around it. Let me get the actual definition up.
Thank you.
Using money and other resources carefully and not wastefully.
Okay, i.e. a thrift store.
Yeah, so it's basically being clever and careful with your resources rather than just going, I can't actually be bothered to do any work, so I'm just going to throw all the stuff that I've already done in there and just hope that nobody notices.
Oh no, what do people think of me when I upload HFC Classic playthroughs?
Yeah, Tom, I didn't really want to say, but yeah.
Leave the benches alone, mate, come on. People gotta sit on something in the apocalypse.
Well, yeah, but everything's on fire, so who cares?
There you go.
Right, now, this is an interesting segment.
You gotta explain why?
Well, you're about to see.
You had me on 10 to... Oh my god, you're surfing!
And yes, indeed, dancing a go-go, baby. Lovely little bit of a beautiful Joe reference in there.
Very fitting, because I feel Bayo is Joe's character taken to 11. Like, he was always, like, verbose and chatty, but Bayo just does it with more style than Joe ever did, I think.
Well, that would be because Joe is a fanboy, whereas Bayonetta's more the real deal. She's just a natural badass, and she can do whatever the bloody hell she pleases, whereas Joe's constantly trying to be cool, rather than, necessarily actually always being normally cool. So yeah, obviously this particular verse is interesting because you've got all the lava flowing. It does actually rise, so you do have a time limit going on here.
Okay.
Which is why it is a bit of a difficult verse to get done decently, especially with getting a good combo ranking. But also it's particularly mean because it ends with one of those sort of insta-death quick time events that's kind of difficult to pull off well. There was the one at the end of Chapter 2, and yeah, there's the one just here. And I would say that they are the two worst quick-time events in the games. I think I used my plurals incorrectly there. They're the two worst quick-time events in the game. There we go, got it right.
Thank you.
They're kind of the key ones that I would point to when people say that the QuickTime events in the original Bayonetta are not perfect.
Yeah.
Because they are pretty unfair, really, because you don't necessarily know it's going to turn up, and then if you miss it, you're dead. Because death reflects negatively on your overall ranking, it's a bit mean. But as long as you know it's coming, you should be alright. And I think they have made it slightly easier in the Switch version.
Mm.
I think. Because what they ended up doing, or what I think they've done, is the circles that go in towards the Umbran Circle, maybe a bit clearer, or they introduce those to give you more of an idea of the actual timing.
Ah.
So once those circles hit the Umbran Circle, that's when you're supposed to hit it. At least that's the way I perceived it. I don't know whether they have actually properly introduced that or just made it more obvious, but it works. And also, this bit of notes here is actually quite cool because it teaches you about the dodge offset mechanic, which is sort of the key to high-level Bayonetta play.
Right.
So the idea behind dodge offset is that you can continue a combo even with dodging. So the way that you sort of pull off a dodge offset is you begin your combo. I didn't do a very good job of showing it off there because I was pretty much the end of a combo before going into it.
Fair enough.
But the idea is that you hold the button of the last bit of the combo you were on, then you dodge, and then you just continue your combo immediately afterwards.
Why do you keep holding off on torture attacks, if I may ask?
So part of it is that while torture attacks kill enemies much more quickly, you aren't going to get a huge number of combo points off of them. Like, the general trick in these particular situations where you've got two enemies which make up the verse is try and get as many hits on them as possible, get them as low down in the health, and then use your torture attack.
Ah.
because that way you get the boost of pulling off the torture attack. Even better if you can do it during witch time. But also you get all of the other combo points along with it, otherwise you've pretty much just wasted a large amount of combo potential. And you don't want to do that, because otherwise you're going to get really rubbishy ranks throughout the entire game.
I understand, yeah. Oh, not pure platinum, Rich. Mm-mm.
I'm not going to get a pure platinum in this game. I have tried. Well, I've not probably tried as hard as I could have done. But it's just out of my reach, unfortunately. I'm pretty much always going to get hit at some point. And while I have gained a few pure platinum awards at the end of a chapter before, nominally on, I think I've done it on the prologue, and I think I've done it on one of the boss fights. If you watch my 2012 solo run of Bayonetta, I think it was 2012, which is the kind of first time I did Bayonetta properly. I think that's got an example of me getting a pure platinum on one or two things. But obviously, time has passed since then. And I'm perhaps not necessarily as skilled as I used to be.
So the platinum has become shabby and is in need of a shine.
And effectively, I mean, platinum never loses its luster, but it sort of does when it's me.
Is that where Tolkien got the inspiration for Mithril from then? Because, like, it never goes shabby.
Potentially, yes.
Huh, the more you know.
I mean, honestly, I don't know. Tolkien, well, most of the stuff that Tolkien got and the stuff that he did was all rooted in Old English and Middle English texts. So, yeah, you've got to go hunting around for some of those bits and pieces of information. But yes, we are very close to the end of the chapter now. It doesn't look it. It really doesn't look it. Because we're only about halfway through the part, but that's only because there's actually quite a few optional verses to come up. So if you wanted to beat this chapter, all you have to do is run towards the bridge, run back, go through a portal, do something in there, come back through, and then just leg it to the end. But we ain't doing that. We're doing things properly.
Ooh.
So that means that we're gonna do all the verses, and that obviously takes up a bit of time. I'll also say there's one of these optional fights is one that you are pretty much always gonna enter into. There's just a chance that you might not necessarily finish it. And as part of my woes with chapter 3, yep, that's chapter 3, I have to remind myself, because of the way the parts work, because it's part 4 but it's chapter 3, I'm just like, where am I again?
We've all been there with recording playthroughs, mate, don't worry about it.
So, I got to that particular verse, and accidentally went too far, I missed it, and I was just like, oh, for God's sake, that was a really good run. Until that point, and I can't get it to reappear because I've already gone past the point of no return, and oh, so I had to re-record the entire chapter. I was not impressed.
For people transcribing our playthrough parts, that's Fra with 4 A's and 6 H's.
Yeah, and just maybe add in a few, like, ats and exclamation marks, and make it look like a proper expletive.
I definitely remember this set piece.
Yes. I mean, it's a really cool set piece. Because obviously, just completely destroys your bridge and you just go, where the hell am I meant to go?
Oh, well, go around. That's not our problem.
Well, no, it kind of is, because we kind of need to get out of the catacombs. And the only way out is up that kind of tower thing, which we need the bridge to get to.
So we're still in Purgatorio right now, right? This isn't hell or anything.
Now we're still in Purgatorio, it's just we're in the catacombs of Vigrid. And if we head through this, we end up in a very beautiful looking place.
Ah.
So we have actually made it into Paradiso.
Huh. Why aren't we instantly cast out?
Well, I mean, because they don't really think about that sort of stuff.
Okay, fair enough.
And also, I mean, it's not like they exactly have angels looking everywhere around the I think it's Porta del Paradiso, is what the portals are called. I mean, there's one instance where we're going to go through one and there are going to be angels pretty much on the other side, but here it's just the Garden of Light, so it's nice and peaceful, nobody's really paying attention to it, but there is an Alfheim here, so we're going to be making use of that. And also, I will be picking up the weapon that we just got, because it's very helpful in those stay in the air moments. But it's not very helpful in general combat, unfortunately. They created a version of this weapon in Bayonetta 2 which is much more useful in combat and really fun, so it was just the precursor, really. But yeah, I have to say, this particular Alfheim, bit of a challenge, because in removing Witch Time, you've kind of lost your key way of defeating a lot of enemies, particularly at this point in the game, because you get very used to using Witch Time to get those extra hits in on enemies. And so losing that is terrifying. As you get better and better at Bayonetta, I mean, you get to the point where really Witch Time isn't wholly necessary, and in fact on the most difficult difficulty in the game, non-stop infinite climax mode,
jeez,
because of course that's what it's called, Witch Time is completely disabled, so you have to play the entire game without it, and that is as much a challenge as you would expect it to be. There is a way of making your life a bit easier, because there's an item that you can get which I think is the Evil Harvest Rosary. And basically what that does is whenever you dodge at the last minute, as if you would go into Witch Time, you basically leave behind this massive skull bomb that will explode. That will then damage your enemies, which is then pretty much your best way of making decent progress through those higher difficulties.
Well, I mean, yeah, just chuck a giant bomb down. It seems to do the trick 9 times out of 10.
Pretty much. The other way that you can get through it is by equipping another accessory, which I think, if I recall correctly, is the Star of... it's either Dintea or Dinatea, which, when you get hit, automatically puts you into Witch Time. So you've got ways of getting around that Witch Time is disabled thing, which will make your life easier.
Nice.
Yeah, I was going to try and jump, but then realised, oh, nope, I've missed it, and then it was too late to do anything, so it's just like, you know what, I don't need that bullet for, whatchamacallit, angel attack, so I'm just going to just roll on, roll on, roll on.
Fair enough. Bites the duster.
Yes, and I mean, I like that we clipped through the floor there. That was quite fun.
Shh! Don't tell nobody. It could be all get retroactively fired.
No, he'll be fine. I mean, it's the same as soon as Bayonetta walked through the portal back into the catacombs. I think her leg did something funny, and I remember looking at it just going, "What the hell happened there?" But it's all good because we're getting our next item.
Oh, the line, I love it so much.
I was bored anyways.
But yeah, I particularly like this song because it's Fantaisie Impromptue, which is by Chopin. And yeah, it's one of my favourite pieces of classical music, definitely.
You must be having a right time down there in hell.
Oh, of course. But yeah, I have to say, I wouldn't necessarily know as many pieces of Chopin as I do were it not for video games, because there's the game called Eternal Sonata.
Yeah, we've been over this.
Yeah, which is all to do with Chopin, and that's where I learned about a lot of Chopin's music, and it's awesome.
You don't see enough whips modelled after snakes.
No, you really don't, but Cool Shader is pretty awesome. And I'm also going to buy a few extra moves here, the Heel Stomp. There's also the chance of getting, which I will get eventually, the Tetsu Zanko. But I'm actually not going to buy as many of the techniques as you would expect, because I would say they are actually more likely to hamper your combat abilities than anything else. So there's a move which you can get called Breakdance, which is basically where if you keep circling the analog stick whilst you're dodging, then Bayonetta will effectively go into a sort of breakdance spin and sort of fire off some shots with it. But the challenge with that is that it just doesn't work out as well as you'd like. So you just end up faffing about. And I hate this particular Alfheim.
Use Wicked Weaves. I don't know, you're firing a giant boom. What's so bad about it?
Because not only is it use Wicked Weaves, which means that you can only hurt your enemies through Wicked Weaves, these enemies are also, I think they're on fire, as well as having a shield, so you can't actually touch them, otherwise you'll take damage. So it's just a whole bunch of awfulness, really. And I got to this point, and then I just go for the very quick murder way of Punch Kick Punch with Sharaba, because it's by far the safest way of getting through Alfheims like this. Because as long as you keep your enemies off screen, they can't actually do any damage to you.
Huh.
Or at least they're a lot less likely to go in to attack you. And it's pretty much how most people get through the most challenging fights in this game, is by off-screening enemies to then be able to go in and get some damage in.
We all saw that, Rishi. It's not perfect.
Oh, I know it's not perfect. I tried to get this perfect, and I just gave up because I was like, you know what? I have done it enough times. I just want this bloody chapter to be over.
The uncovered heads of the furnaces actually kind of remind me of, I think it's Omega Metroids.
I don't think I ever saw that.
You not played Samus Returns?
No, I haven't. That'll be why.
That's probably why then, folks.
How's that? I'm not the biggest Metroid fan in the world.
Oh, well, I'm not the biggest you fan in the world, then.
How rude!
Well, play more Metroid, Mr. Man.
Well, I did play a bit of Metroid. I played Metroid Fusion, and I feel like it was the original Metroid, or it might be Super Metroid. I don't know. It was one of the two.
Well, I've never completed Super Metroid, so if you beat that, you'll have my congratulations.
I actually should be able to find out, because I have it on my backloggery, which is nice. So yeah, whilst that's loading, this is the verse that I was talking about, because it's timed in the sense of if you don't get far enough along this bridge, that pillar is going to fall and just break the bridge on you.
Neat.
And that will be death. But don't go too far ahead, otherwise the angels will disappear, and then you won't be able to really do anything. So it's a bit of a nasty one. Okay, so yeah, it was the original Metroid and Metroid Fusion that I've beaten. They're the only two Metroid games I've played.
Not bad. I've beaten Zero Mission. I don't think I've ever beaten OG Metroid.
Yeah, let's just say that I made plentiful use of restore points.
Disgusting.
The same that I did for the original Super Mario Brothers.
Really?
I am god-awful at the original Mario game. I am terrible.
That's so weird to me, because you're doing platinums and whatnot in an action game, but when it comes to jumping from point A to point B, you have trouble with it.
Yeah, I don't know. It was dire. Also, definitely did it on the original Legend of Zelda because.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I'm also definitely doing it on Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link, which I'm actually playing right now, surprisingly enough.
Well, beat that and you'll have beaten me on another thing in life, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I'm planning to beat it because I'm stubborn like that. I mean, I've gotten past what I thought was the worst of it, which was like Death Mountain. I got past that, so I feel that I should be okay for now, as long as I level up appropriately.
Ooh.
Yeah, this looks exciting. It's not as exciting as you're expecting it to be.
Oh, it's kind of like a reverse of Flame Core, or whatever the level is, in Sonic's playthrough of 06.
Yeah. But yeah, all we're doing is just running up out of this thing. You can get hit by the boulders, but since this isn't a verse, it doesn't really matter unless you're actually really close to death, in which case, yes, it sort of does matter. Because you might die before beating the chapter, but... and that would be really embarrassing because you're so close to the end. But hey, these things happen.
Just pick up a brochure of where we're going next.
Of course, we need a proper glimpse at what awaits us. The old Colosseum, which is an altar of worship to one of the era's gods, Fortitudo. And, yeah, I can tell you now, it's going to be pretty goddamn epic in the next part.
Oh yeah, the memories are seeping back into my consciousness.
Yeah, it's going to get pretty glorious, and you're going to see sort of one of the real highlights of Bayonetta and why people really do love this game series. I mean, if you hadn't sort of already figured it out, but yeah, the next chapter is pretty goddamn awesome. Well,
we've got something to look forward to next week, I know.
Yes, potentially. I mean, there's just loads of good stuff coming in Bayonetta. Like, as you can probably tell, pretty much all the time through me talking through Bayonetta, I'm really excited about everything. So...
It's like a goddamn puppy dog, really. Can't stop him from barking.
Exactly. And thank God I got that Umbra and Tears of Blood, because I thought I might have missed it. I was just like, oh, no, I know there's one on the stairs here somewhere. I'm gonna get ya.
I love the where they keep the camera pulled out to give you a sense of scale while you run into a structure. Mwah.
I know. Always a beautiful moment.
Not bad.
Yeah, I will definitely take that, thank you very much.
I should have been a pole dancer.
Yes, Bear, we know.
Yeah, she's going to be saying that a lot throughout this playthrough.
Okay, so I guess we've got a bit of Angel Attack to cap off the part with. This was a bit of a detour part, honestly, so, we're in the middle of recording stuff right now, so get ready for some meaty parts in the next upload sesh. But I believe tomorrow, at the time of us recording this, there'll be a quick look on Odin Sphere Leafless here with Vulcanize, so check that out if you want a bit more action.
Ooh, sounds exciting.
Oh yes, and there's loads of good quick looks coming this month. I believe you and I are covering Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom and El Shaddai Ascension of the Metatron.
Yes, we are indeed. Very intrigued by the both of those.
Alright folks, see you next time for more Bayonetta.